Hey you guys, what's cracking? Godsman here. Welcome back to Custom Card Review. Last time where we left off in Custom Card Review, I had a bit of a challenge. That challenge being the Adios card reviews, where it was a generic all-nation kind of deck, which would allow you to alchemagic more or less generically across all the nations, which is a really interesting concept. And I had posed that challenge to all of you to make the most busted deck that imaginable from those cards, that rideline more or less. And interestingly enough, this never really occurred because only one brave soul, that being Crazy Flame, so perhaps a Crazy Soul instead, was the only one who really stepped up to the plate and did something with it, utilizing certain cards like Shadow Cloak in order to dump any of your orders from the deck into the drop zone, and then from there you go ahead and formulate all of your orders, right? Realistically speaking, it just went to show that Stoicheia was the one who could best use Alchemagic because it was the home nation of it. So how about that, right? Go figure. Anyway, with me today, I actually have the return of a dear co-host, Noir. You've been out of action for a few episodes, but glad to have you back, man.
Yep, thanks. It's good to be back. Had to take a break for a bit, but I'm back feeling more refreshed, we'll say.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Like a very generic response, but that is how it is.
I mean, you don't really gotta explain too much, right? You in, you out, people got lives. Yep. So we're gonna be going ahead and hitting it back in earnest here. So we began with Dragon Rider Arts, who has a whole slew of cards for us to reveal here. No pretty pictures for it, so we're kind of doing this old school. Now we begin with Acolyte of Justice Yama, which Yama, if I recall correctly, was the king of the underworld, like the Naraka, in Hinduism. So that's but this says Acolyte of Justice, so probably not. Oh, it's also Stoicheia Bioroid, so a whole slew of different things meshing together here. It's just the generic starter skills. So next up is Cast from Paradise Yama. Same basic traits here, but it's a great one. When this unit is run upon by Harbinger of Vengeance Yama, oh, this is getting to be a bit of a twist. So last one, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose one grade 2 or less unit card from among them, reveal it, and discard it, then shuffle. But if you discarded a card with Judgment Arm in its card name, draw a card. Oh, okay. So, classic Stoicheia style here, being able to get some revivals, but Judgment Arm seems to be the big, I guess, naming scheme behind this. I mean, I don't know about you, Noir, but I'm thinking some Buff Saga type stuff. Feels like it.
Possibly, yeah. That or Silhouette. It's like if they have like the if you call it to grade 2, then you call it to the rear circle, then you could probably equip it to.
Oh, yeah. So the key becomes, are they like unit cards, or are they going to be? Well, I guess it has to be unit card, right? Because it says a grade 2 or less unit card. So I guess it is probably closer to Silhouette. So it's a good catch. Harbinger of Vengeance Yama is a grade 2 when it's rode upon by a unit with the Judgment Dress ability. Oh, okay.
Oh, we got a dress.
Another dress card. It's definitely been a while since I've seen a dress card. So Energy Blast 3. Look at the time.
On that.
Yeah, realistically speaking, you think there'd be more. I mean, shoot, Unison Dress is basically a nothing burger, right? It just says here, while you're in this state, get busted effects. Choose up to one card from among them and discard it, and shuffle your deck. If you discard a card, choose up to one grade 2 or less card from your drop card rear circle. Okay, so it actually. It costs energy, so both of these actually cost in order to get your pluses, so that's definitely fair. And the nature of it is you're dumping and then calling. Now, this can dump any card, including like order cards and whatnot. So what I'm wondering about this is it then intended that you want to revive back a Judgment Arm? So if you saw it off the grade 1, which is what you want to do, you could probably revive back that one. So okay, some revivals or whatever. So interesting. I mean, it's off to a good start. Yeah, it's got some of your basics here. Yamarasu Judgment Guard. Okay, so this isn't a Judgment card, it's a Judgment Guard. So this isn't, or I mean, it's not a Judgment Arm. It's just it's a Judgment card. Judgment is going to be said a lot, so do not take a shot. You will get alcohol poisoning. Judgment Dress. Here we go, right into the good stuff. Out on the Vanguard circle once per turn. At the end of the battle, this unit attacked. You have 2 rear cards with the Judgment Arm and their different card name in your front row. You discard a card, stand this unit, and at end of turn, it gets drive -1 and is in the Judgment Dress state. At the end of your turn, retire all your front row rear guards. So a unit, there's a bit of a reminder text here. A unit in the Judgment Dress state gets the power equal to the power of all of your front row rear guards. Oh, okay. So It's kind of like Silhouette, but they get to chill there. But he's gaining the power of the front row rear guard, so it's just Silhouette for the most part. It's not inherently facilitating any sort of multi-attack the way the Silhouette was designed to, so it's not quite as interesting as Silhouette, because it just says, hey, get their power and become in Judgment Dress. I wonder why it's called Judgment Dress. Like, what are they meant to like be like 3 judges or something?
I don't know. All I can say is I feel like if this was what Nana Clear was like, I think I'd be more accepting of it, because this feels like what Stray Garden should have been, but it's not. So
Yeah, especially if like a bunch of your units have effects, if your Vanguard's in the Judgment Dress state and they're in like the front row rear circle, and so it's kind of like you sort of like have the pseudo 2 arms or whatever. There's a lot of cards underneath this. I'm betting that there's at least a few Judgment arms. Now it also has the secondary skill, which is an X skill. So after the Vanguard circle, you retire rear guard to choose a grade 3 lower card from your drop and call to a front row rear circle. I love that.
Okay,
just simple facilitator thing. You basically swap out Judgment arms, I would assume. That's beautiful and to the point. I'm not gonna lie, so far this is really fire, right? Like they definitely knew how to perfectly like balance setup while also understanding that you can be powerful in certain areas and having to need the combo pieces or like really get your power going. So everything from the Yama, which it's kind of interesting that it's called Yamarasu. So I'm not sure what rasu as like a suffix in Japanese like naming scheme like really means. I'm assuming it's coming from the Japanese naming scheme, but then again, Yama is more traditionally a like Indian figure, so maybe it's actually not. What do you think, Nora?
I'm looking up Yamarasu real quick.
Okay, yeah.
Not anything I know. Here, Yamarasu is a mythology? I'm assuming this is a mythological figure.
I mean, it sounds like it, right? I mean, Yama certainly was a mythological being.
There is absolutely nothing. The closest I get when I say when I look up Yamarasu mythology is Yatagarasu, which is Japanese, but it's.
Yeah, this is definitely not Yata, right? So, okay. I guess there's nothing that we know here. Okay,
I have no idea then, yeah.
Oh, okay, we begin with the Judgment Arm. So this is our first Judgment Arm, which is Judgment Arm Armada. Well, that's a powerful name. So it's a grade 2 intercept. Okay, so definitely cooking with the whole Silhouette comparison. Or auto, when this unit is placed on grid circle other than during the battle phase, if you have a Vanguard Judgment Dress ability, so it doesn't have to be in the Judgment Dress state. So this is a setup skill. Soul Blast. Well, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose one card from among them with Yamarasu or Judgment Arm in their name. Reveal it out of your hand and shuffle the deck. I think that should be a counterblast. Your Vanguard doesn't do any counterblast here, and it's worth noting that this tutor skill is very reminiscent of certain similar cards like Diera. You like Diera does it. You get like something a little bit more generic with Novia, but Novia adds the hand if it is the battle phase instead of calling during the main phase, right? Which is how they prevent multi-attack. This doesn't need the battle phase requirement because you're adding to the hand anyway, and you don't have any multi-attack from the hand when adding it, so you don't need to worry about that. So that's a little odd.
Not only that, considering if you have 2 or 3 of these, you can just abuse it because it's an on place. You can just abuse this with Judgment Guard, just retire and then just recall it.
That is true, because it doesn't say a different card name. That's a good point. So we have to assume that at any point, depending on how lenient the cost is, you can double dip them. Now you do Soul Blast 1 because of Cast from Paradise, but that is basically where the Soul Blasting ends, right? So this seems a little too much.
Having played Stoicheia Dragon Tree, you can easily run some generic Soul Chargers because you definitely needed Soul when you played Stoicheia Dragon Tree.
Sure. Honestly, I think one thing that would cook pretty good with this is Tearful Malice or whatever it was. Yeah, that would go really good. Just retire 2 to draw, counter charge, put into soul. Just gives you all 3 of your like economy if you exclude the energy. Auto in the front row left rear circle. Oh, it says left. Okay, so this is where Balsakura stuff kind of comes in, it feels like. We got left versus right deity armor, I guess. When your Vanguard in the Judgment Dress state attacks, you Energy Blast 3 and you may draw a card. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, choose one of your opponent's Vanguards, and until end of turn, it gets minus 5,000.
Alright, there's a bit more flavor at least.
Yeah, that is interesting. So it's whenever your Vanguard in the Judgment Dress state attacks, which is good because that means that you can only get this once because it's specifically on their second attack, and this has to be in the front row left. So I see why it's left, because if it could be on either front row, then you could do this twice and get minus 10,000, which is maybe not necessarily the most devastating thing, but it's definitely a really powerful play action, right? So one thing about this though is that's a little weird to me is it says you may draw a card. So is it assuming that deck out's going to be an issue? Because the way I thought this was going to read is that it would say if you did not draw a card and your opponent's grade 3 or greater, they get the minus 5,000. So it's like an either or decision. But this one, it kind of reads like Blanked Mire right now.
Yeah, and not only that, something I kind of held my tongue on because I wasn't sure where everything else is. But given this card, I want to say I feel like this deck is plussing a lot with like almost no real meaningful consequence right now. So like the first one is because of the revival, it's just a +1. Actually, no, if you discard Judgment Guard, it's a draw, so it's a +2 effectively. The second one is also basically just a +1 because you discard one from deck and then you just superior call that. The Vanguard is you just retire one for free and then recall it, and then you have this card already. Just the one. I see 2 more underneath it. That's just the one. And for a Soul Blast, you get to look at top 5 add to your hand, and which is not hard once per. Does not have a hard once per turn. So that means you can just abuse this card a lot. So you call it once. You look at top 5, add 1 to hand, and then you retire it, call it again, and then you get to add another 1 to hand. Yeah, that's like 3 soul by the time you've gotten to this point. But like that is your ride line at that point. So.
Yeah, that is true, right? Because essentially it can be turbo. There's no other like stopgap to it, right? Which that is really important. I can see where this deck can get a little bit powerful because one thing about Judgment Dress is that Judgment Dress reads is like a in mechanics wise, not necessarily an overall power output, because obviously Revolve Dress has like gained something really extraordinary with Exist as an individual card, but the Judgment Dress ability is objectively superior to Revolve Dress in terms of just how it plays, right? Because for the same -1, you actually get to attack with the drive, so it's a break even versus the -1 of Revolve Dress, and because it's a restand, it inherits all of the power that you get from any initial trigger checks there, and that's on top of the power of the other Judgment Dress state cards, right? So it's a little weird to me that this dress basically is power creeping like Youthbrook's like fundamental gimmick. Youth even right now has to like struggle a little bit to get there, right? Because with Youthbrook, you have with Rebuild a Counterblast 1 in order to do it from the drop zone. That's how you can keep it as a break even for a CB here, but this doesn't have to even go that far for it, right? So it's a little weird. Now he's definitely using a lot of like proper costs here. Not seeing a Counterblast yet is a little concerning to me, so I feel like it would be better if there was a CB going on here, like if the Judgment Dress actually required like CB and discard. The reason why is that initiating Judgment Dress gets you so much value that doing it for just a discard's a little lame, right? For instance, let's go ahead and compare this to another dress unit, Nirvana Java. Now, Nirvana Java does discard 1 in order to call 2. You may be like saying that is a free +1. However, that's because in the context of the deck, the cross Overdress action is by default a -2, right? And that's the way it works. Similarly, Youthbrook Skyfall Arms originally was a discard in order to get a call, or now it's a discard to get a drive, which are break evens as well. But this is on top. This is on top of the fact that it is a -1 for the Revolve Dress action. Here, it's a free discard to get a break even and an extra attack, so there's no negging whatsoever, and it's got more power into them like inherently without much combo, right? So yeah, it does seem like it power creeps the other dresses a little bit. This sort of reads as like a villain in the Will Dress storyline that like Rika and Yu kind of have to band together to defeat, because it sort of like represents a superior version of them, right? So it kind of feels like it's thematic there. Anyway, let's move on here. Judgment Arm Brahmashra, so definitely got the Hindu stuff going on here. When this is retired from the rear circle during your main phase, you've got Yamarasu, discard a card, call this to rear circle, gets plus 5,000. Oh, okay, so you're discarding in order to call it back and it gets power, which is overall break even. I think because you're still having to discard to get it back, but you do, in addition to the power, get the ability to have another card in the drop zone. Now, what's interesting is that whatever you discard, you can't revive back because of the timing. This effect goes on standby. So you wouldn't be able to revive back the thing that you discard from this because you can't pay the cost to resolve that effect. Now the auto in the front row right rear circle. When your Vanguard in the Judgment's Dress states attacks, choose up to one of your opponent's rear guards and retires it. Ooh, for free, okay. If your opponent's Vanguard is great through greater counterblast 1, choose one of your Vanguards gets critical +1 until end of turn. So this is where we finally get to see a counterblast, but it's for a flat critical. I mean,
I guess at least it's on the second attack only, but still, just like,
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple things about this, right? Like for one thing that kind of gets me about this is that this is in addition to just like a free retire of your choice. I could have understood it if the opponent got to choose, because at least then they do whatever action is most beneficial to them for it. But no, you get to take out possibly a really high profile like rear guard, right? And in addition, you CB for that critical, which is coming off the back of a boatload of power. So now what this allows you to do is this allows the deck for, because remember, it doesn't need any CB inherently for its play action. You have a really legitimate like damage deny strat going on here. Let's say your opponent's at 4, right? Now, obviously, in your play pattern, you're attacking with your Vanguard Yamarasu first. Yamarasu swings. You're not going to let that through because you don't want to get critted. But Brahmashra is here, which means that even if you do hit a crit, you don't throw it on your Vanguard. You throw it on one of your rear guards like Brahmashra. Then on the second attack, Brahmashra gets a critical. Now, let's say you got another crit. That means the whole front row effectively had crit pressure over the course of full attacks. It's very reminiscent of it's reminiscent of Dradshield, except Dradshield actually gives you an opening to take that 5th damage, which is the very first swing. But because your very first swing in this attack pattern is your Vanguard, you don't have that opportunity. So I find that a little problematic personally. What do you think, Mar?
Well, also considering the fact that like with Judgment Dress, it gets all the power. You have literally no reason to not put it on your everything on your rear guard, and then just everything, everything is up to your Vanguard anyway. So.
Right, front triggers are going to go like dummy strong here. So I can see because of this critical, you play a more front heavy build.
Yep, so had this been like you counterblast 1, choose when your opponent's rear guard retire. If your opponent's grade 3 or greater and you could not retire a card, then your Vanguard gets critical until end of turn. I could forgive that, but like the way it is now, it's just like you really don't have to use this crit. Like like honestly, this crit, the crit effect kind of feels like Neoflame from V, like when what was it when
Overlord the Great would attack, because you wasn't that like CB2 to get that critical, and that was on top of the Greats. Yeah, that was on top of the Great CB. So the idea is that if you have a lot to burn, you just kind of like go for that like game-ending action potentially. But I mean that made sense for Overlord because Overlord was like always intended to kind of like reach with those like Vanguard swings and have a very like definitive like kill turn.
But so also, it didn't share power. Whatever power you put on Neoflame, the Great did not get. The Great only got 5k if Neoflame was on the board. Which is really fair, and this one doesn't have that. So, yeah, it seems like the rideline and Yamarasu themselves was a pretty good. Is like the rideline is a really good start, and I think Judgment Dress is starting to show its cracks a little bit. But you know, as we go down here with the Judgment Arms, it's definitely compounding, and I think very like erroneous ways. We got a lot more to go too, so let's try to we can go through this a little bit quicker, right? We got Judgment Arm V Nadi. When it's placed on a rear circle other than during the battle phase, if you got Yamarasu, bind 2 cards with Judgment cards from your drop. Search your deck from 1 card with Judgment Arm, reveal it at your hand, shuffle it. Nope, don't do that. That is a +1 that is really insane. Like, yes, you get rid of like your Judgment Arms like for the drop zone, but all you have to do is just play multiple copies of each, and there you go. That is really easy. I'm seeing, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 I'm seeing on that list right now. Yeah, you got plenty to burn. Your entire deck is just Judgment Arms. And
you just discard them, get them back. Yeah, this is an easy plus, dude. Like I would spam this crap. Yeah, it's insane. Auto, so this is the right front row. When your Judgment Dress thing attacks, you look at the top card of your deck and put on the top or bottom. Okay, that's not bad. If your opponent's Vanguard is great 3 or greater, counterblast punches your Vanguards get drive +1. Nope. Why? Sheesh, dude. You see, this is where if it was me, if you wanted to give this guy a drive, I would have done the Sequana thing where it's actually a back row unit that like refunds a drive by like getting rid of itself. Probably something to the effect of like counterblast one, retire it in order to like let it gain back a drive. Because by doing it, you know, you're looking pretty good. But oh man. That's just too much. Judgment Arm Velgen, rear guardian circle. If you got a Judgment Dress ability, and your opponent's Vanguard's great through greater gets power plus 3k 10 shield. That's really funny. Wow, he really said as long as he can hit 13k, I'm fine.
I mean, I kind of respect that to an extent, just because because I was literally just thinking, wow, I haven't seen a plus 3k attacker in a freaking eternity, dude. I haven't seen that since V, and I actually did like that about V.
Oh man, that is hilarious. And the shield plus 10,000 is just kind of like there, right? So all these Velgans are 15k intercepts. I'm surprised there isn't like some sort of like additional condition for that, but you know, whatever. I mean, we need this one gets a pass just because we need defensive power creep in the format right now. Auto on the front left. Okay, good. So we have our second left now. When your Vanguard in the Judgment Dress state attacks, cost Soul Blast 1, choose up to one of your rear guards, and until the end of your opponent's turn, it gets continuous in the rear circle. This unit cannot be retired by card effects, and you can choose up to 2 rear guards instead of 1 of the opponent's grade 3 rear. That was actually kind of interesting. That one is interesting. I will say, if you're playing against Varka Dragress, that's the biggest middle finger, man.
Not only that, if you go back up to the main grade 3, his main trade-off is that to get that free restand, he has to retire his entire front row. This just completely mitigates that entirely.
The main.
I mean, it's not a problem for me. If I'm playing Messiah, I'm just locking everything. So go fuck. Pardon the language, but go fuck yourself. But you know.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Like making them stay on the board. Like I mean, that is kind of I will say that this one is actually better to me overall because for a couple reasons. One is that like you pay, at least you like pay the cost in order to like protect them. So it feels like okay, like you're having to make the conscious decision to have this here to preserve the front row, which these guys aren't like that dynamic, right? So it clearly reads as a defensive play because this is a 15k intercept, right? That's the idea. So I think that's not bad at all, right? I like it when like when your pairs are somewhat interchangeable, but also one of like when playing Boss Saga, this is like a good point, right? You want to have, like, if you're doing the left ADR, right ADR, you want DDR's utilities to factor in the fact that you're choosing that DDR the other selections, right? So you don't have to just consider combinations, you also have to consider choice scenarios between these DDRs. So in effect, by choosing your Velgen as your left DDR, I just keep using that, but obviously it's just a judgment arm, right? This means that you don't get the retire and the minus. So one is defense, the other is offense on that, right? So you kind of switch between that. Then over here, this one is counterblast, it gets critical and a retire, and then this one is scry and drive. I don't like these as much because it feels like they're both like yeah, they're doing similar things, but the one thing I do like about it is that you can't get drive and critical on your Vanguard because they're both taking at the same slot. So at least they've got that philosophy, right? I feel like they definitely did well with knowing which ones to put where. It's just that these things are really overblown in their value.
Yeah, my biggest issue is mainly just that like you have almost half of these are basically free. Like the cost is so inconsequential for half of these that like it does not matter. Because also because of the fact that they're, like you said, the left and right, like you can't use two lefts or rights at the same time. Can you scroll back up real quick?
Oh yeah, sure.
To the other judgment arms. Okay, so the left one. Let me see. So judgment arm, Brahmashra, that kind of also one gets a crit. That's a front row right. Vinati for the drive. That's also front row right. So see, here's the thing. You're only using one counterblast a turn, so you got plenty to spare throughout for this game.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure.
The thing. So it's just like, yeah, it's like not bad. It's like, I don't know. It's like it's a weird balance because on one hand, yeah, it's like you can't use them at the same time, but on the other hand, they're the only things using CB right now, which means that you use one CB a turn from turn 3 onwards, essentially, which means you could effectively You could guard everything early game, just go start at 1 damage, and your entire deck is just live. You don't have to sandbag.
Yeah, the thing about Counterblast that's really important is that it's an interactive resource, right? Because your opponent has a say in Counterblast. I've been playing through the Digimon TCG recently, and for anyone who knows how the DCG works, you'll know about the memory mechanic and how what your opponent decides to pay is the leftovers that you get in turn. So you and your opponent are always playing this game of min-maxing your plays while giving the opponent as few resources as possible in the process. But that also means you have to hold yourself back, right? That kind of play balance is somewhat here where, yeah, you can try to like taper off your offense to give them less CB to work with, but you can't interact with that here. So I'm not, it's starting to fall apart. Let's go ahead and quickly go through the rest of these because we don't want to focus on his all day. Continuous on the rear circle during your turn. If you got a Judgment Dress ability and a Judgment Arms in a different name, this unit gets 5,000 power. Sure. At the end of battle, this unit attacked as the first battle of this turn. Counterblast 1, bind this card, choose a Judgment. Choose a Judgment Arm from your drop, call to rear circle, and it gets when it's retired from rear circle, bind it instead of sending it to drop. Okay, I mean at least it's getting rid of them, so you're having to like the binding permanently is at least a consequence, but like man, multi-attack on top of that, really, dude?
I mean, I guess that is the upside of him basically future-proofing everything else to basically say no, it has to be placed during main phase. So all of those plussing effects, they don't go off at least, but.
Yeah, like, it's okay, I guess. I just feel like you didn't need more multi-attack, because you already have the Vanguard swing that's really powerful, so that just seems a little, like, additive and annoying by comparison. It does say first battle, at least, so it follows the same philosophy as the Impaldio one, but still, that's not great. Messenger of Perfect Justice Agni. Oh, so this is actually not a Judgment Arm, so we have to consider that. Oh, fair enough, right? When placed on rear circle, if you have a Yamarasu, your opponent can intercept on a turn. Oh, the joy. But that's a little weird to put on this one because, you know, it's not like Varga or Blankmeyer where you want to have them stay put for the removal effects, right? You don't have a lot of removal in this deck.
Or in Blankmeyer's case, denies defensive option because, you know, when Divine Skill goes up, you don't get shield.
Right, you're supposed to die this turn. When this boosted a unit with Yamarasu or Judgment Arm, so your entire archetype, if your Vanguard's in the Judgment Dress state, put it into Soul and draw a card. Okay, so it's...
Oh, Shenri clone. Lovely.
Yeah, it's like a combination of Rokusei and Shenri. Yeah, and it's putting itself in the Soul, so you're able to, like, get back a lot of those valuable Soul Blasts. So, yeah, I honestly, this doesn't seem bad to me. This seems like pretty like tamed, relatively speaking, because it's got absolutely no power to it. The reason why this is bad is because the rest of the archetype is doing so much that it kind of doesn't deserve a stability card like this when you think about it.
Can you scroll back up to the grade 3 real quick, just so I can confirm something?
Yeah, here we go. So there's the fella right here.
Okay, so he can just recall this. Because it doesn't specify you have to call it Judgment Arm with that with the act scale. They just call
not at all.
Anything grade 3 or lower. You can just recycle the Shenri over and over again. Because everything's Soul Blast as well, so it's gonna get into the drop zone really quickly.
And another thing that's like important to note about this is that it says that at the end of the battle, boosted a Yamarasu or Judgment Arm. But it has to be if your Vanguard's in the Judgment Dress state. So at the very least, you can't get this going on like early turns the way that like Shenri could. So you have to wait until you're like in the full stage of your game plan. So on the second swing onwards. But even then, right?
This is like Buff Sakura's new grade 1. I don't remember what it's called, but like it's basically the same thing. It's live on turn 3, but it's still basically a Shenri in a deck. Yeah,
it's still a Shenri. It's very powerful. Like it's very powerful, good stuff, right? Like I don't think Agni should like receive like too much flack. It's the other parts of the deck that are like making this feel like really dumb because it is just like what Boss Saga like that card like Sadapadu, I think his name is like that card on its own is strong but not like super duper dumb. It's just that because it's in Boss Saga, it's like come on guys. Judgment Arm Lakshmi, when this is placed on rear circle during the battle phase, there's light at the end of the tunnel. There's only 2 left. Choose a grade 3 or card with Yamasu from your right deck, or if you have that as your Vanguard, you energy charge 1. Why? Front row, left, rear circle. When your Vanguard in the Judgment Dress state attacks, bind a card with Judgment Arm from your drop, and you may soul charge 1. Oh, he forgot to forgot to end the brackets there, so this is all at cost. It's still waiting for the cost to end, smile. And you may soul charge 1. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, counter charge 1. Oh, couple sins there. So doing this to get you both a soul and a counter charge is really strong. Generally, when you get both of those resources, you have to like fulfill a higher condition and cost. Furthermore, it's also worth noting that this counter charge does not say if you did not counter charge, right? So that means that if you have any of the main phase counter charges, like let's say Tearful Malice, then you can do that and still do this, and you're getting a bunch of CCs. So all these resources are really called for you, right? Yeah. And what's also crazy about this is that yeah, it's only limited to like the second swing if it's on the front left, but it is worth noting that it technically gives you all 3 of your resources in like one card. So I'm like, what? Holy crap. And that means you can energy charge too if you keep doing this guy. So if this guy's just your front left and what's up?
I'll be fair enough and say that counter charge doesn't really matter. So like, yeah, on paper it sounds broken, but like considering literally nothing in the deck basically counterblast, and then if you do counterblast, you're counterblasting 1 per turn. This counter charge means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, the thing that pisses me off though is that it has no growth, because that means that if they do want to put in more CB like they should, this is going to ruin that, you know? Which is probably what you're going to say, right?
Yeah, basically. It's just like, now it just means, okay, now this means anything that does require more CB, it's automatically mitigated because you just have this.
Yeah, go figure.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I know it seems like we're talking about like resources a lot, but with this deck, it's because it's definitely very like offensively inclined and has like a lot of tools to it. So when you have these kind of decks, it's important to give them costs, because if you don't limit their play actions in that kind of like hardline way, then they're going to do so much more than what the opponent can do, right? That's the nature of these kind of decks. It is totally possible to have decks that have like low costs, but they also need to have low ceilings. But the ceiling in this deck is really high. Judgment Arm Dharma. Auto on the drop. Okay, here we go. When your rearguard Judgment Arm is retired by the ability of grade 3 grade Vanguard Yamasu, Energy Blast 3 and call this to rear circle. Front row right rear circle. When your Vanguard in the Judgment Dress state attacks, Counterblast 1, choose up to one of your opponent's rear guards. That unit is stunned, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, bind 1 card of Yamasu from your soul. Choose one of your Vanguards to get during the battle. This unit attacking your opponent cards from the hand. The Guardian Circle, name is culture. You see, this one actually is probably the best one they have. Like not because it's super powerful. Yeah, right. Like this one actually seems correct to me. It's got an energy blast in order to call itself. When by a very specific once per turn trigger is good. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, which admittedly is fine, because from what I saw, if I remember reading it correctly, the Vanguard only retires at the end of turns, so.
Right, so this can be a compensation for it. So that's actually clever, right? Because it has the end of turn timing, and I think the better timing, and we both know this, right, is the axe skill. Yeah. Because the idea is that by energy blasting 3 and retiring, you get 2 from the drop zone to the field, but one of them has to be this guy. So Dharma functions very similarly to the way that a Parla does for Bob Sakura. And on that like specific timing, which is good. I like that a lot. That's cool. As long as the rearguard with Judgment Arm doesn't have like any sort of battle phase retire, it won't matter. And because it has to be by the ability of a grade 3 greater Vanguard Yamadasu, it's very easy to control that. So it won't like hurt his future design. So this is actually very non-intrusive in his designs. Yeah, it's good. And yeah, the CB to get a stun and having to bind specifically a persona target from the soul, meaning that you had to wait until turn 4 to get this battle door, that's good. That is actually like really fair card design, because you don't have ways to like vicariously put these grade 3s into soul, because you're playing Stoicheia. Stoicheia wasn't built around that, so this is a very viable cost for a nation like Stoicheia. So
the only thing that can possibly get it in early is Lakshima, the card above it, because it's soul charges. But if that's a 1 in
1 in 3, because let's see, because if it's 3 out of so okay, let's say that you're just getting the general like draws and damages, and you're like around 40 or 39. It's like what, like a 1 in 13 chance or something on average.
Yeah.
Like, it feels about right. Like, I guess it could get a little more ridiculous. But here's the thing. In order to get that, you have the soul charge. Well, this is in the left and this is specifically in the right, so it's such a gambit that I'm like, all right, so either you just got really fortunate in this game state, or you already had one in the soul, you fully intended to do this, you just have another one for next turn. Which means you just soul charge the persona right for next turn, which is a little whack.
You know what? I mean, if you soul charge for it and pull it off, at that point, I can respect it, because that's basically what I did when I played Harmonix Turbo.
That is so baller, yeah, right? I mean, I know Harmonix Turbo can get a little like dumb with it sometimes, but I get it, right? Like, if you're willing to gamble for it, it's pretty funny. So, what would you rate? Like, what would you rate this out of 10 overall?
I feel like admittedly, I feel like I might have been a little overly harsh with these cards, but I'm tempted to say 6, just because I do think the deck, it has a good concept, at least. It's not completely cracked like something like that freaking Bastion Legion I reviewed a long while ago, but
yeah,
man, the cost and the plussing is just ridiculous, man.
Yeah,
I think the sheer amount of plussing you do for free is just, I think Akshaya would cry at this, because at least she has a little more. She has a little more restrictions on that, believe it or not. Weirdly enough.
I think this would be around Akshaya's level. The only thing that it's missing compared to Akshaya is that Akshaya has the ability to get like Akshaya has a lot more like raw power going on inherently because of trick moons. So that combined with like its ability to recur a lot of like grade ones means that your toolbox is definitely like based on game back supporting units. Whereas with this one like your rear guards also double as arm cards, so you kind of have like you have so much going on with these judgment arms like simultaneously, and this one is able to like really get them going. Interestingly enough, Akshaya has the stronger ride line, so that is one thing that we could definitely give to Akshaya versus this. So this one like kind of looks more tame. I think I give it about a 7, right? I think the fundamental dress ability is a little interesting. The fact they have to retire all of your front row rear guards is probably the thing that he was intending as like your neg at the end of it all. But you have a way around it. You have to pay a soul blast for it. So it's like, like in retrospect, it's like it's definitely the most powerful of the 3 dresses just by like its basic functions. But at least he tried with that. I feel like it would have been better to bind all of your front row rear guards, because then by doing that, it means that you basically exhaust those options on a semi-permanent basis, and that's a good way to do it. And so, but aside from that, the real thing that really ticks off a couple points here is it's like you said, he really got lost in the weeds here and gave too much value overall, which is really easy to do because when a lot of people design cards, they tend to design in a vacuum. So they design with this should be like the things that you do without taking too much into account the context of the deck overall and what the deck already has access to. We don't really consider weaknesses. We're always trying to troubleshoot with our card designs as creators, generally speaking. So we're trying to make things as well-rounded and whole as possible right from the get-go, and that's just not right. Decks should have weaknesses. Decks should have failings that can be made up for in future releases, but in so doing, you have to make space and pay costs and also meet certain conditions for those. So again, you're having to make sacrifices in order to patch up other things, and that's how deck building should be. And this one did not want to compromise.
Yeah, I also want to say, I think this is more of a personal thing, but like, because a big fundamental reason why I really like custom cards, and also like just why I love Vanguard in general, is like how much personality people can put into cards. I'll be honest, I don't really get, like, the most personality I get is that you have so much variation between these different cards, but like it's literally just like, it feels less like you're equipping these certain characters and what they represent, and more just like, this is just what they do.
It's a Bob Saga to rewrite. Yeah,
basically. So I'm just like, I'm not really getting much flair from this. So like,
yeah, that's true. Its thematics are not that strong.
Yeah, so like, while the concept and like how the deck plays would probably be fine, flavor-wise, it's honestly really bland. Like that's part of the reason why the costs are so important. The cost is what helps you, is kind of what gives a bit of that storytelling, adds a bit of that storytelling to what you make in the cards. And frankly, because of how little there is, it just feels like So they just get pluses for just existing.
Yeah, it's not great, right? Now, I will say, costs doing storytelling is definitely really advanced and like abstract, so I wouldn't expect that from like
I said, that is more
all decks.
Thing, but like,
But it is a point worth bringing up, right? Because it's kind of an interesting concept that you're bringing that hardly anyone like even I don't really think about that very much unless like the cost is integral. I don't think every deck needs to like take that into account, right? But when they do take it into account, it's pretty rad. All right, so next up we have Plastic Ad, 2130. So he said throwing 3 snippets of different decks, 10 cards total. He's got explanations for these. El Quixote is a Buddyfight thing, so these might also be like Buddyfight. He's got Keter Cross, so this must be a part of the 3 snippets, and then this is Deemos. I know you haven't watched Buddyfight yet, so this just seems like Varga, but he came out first, and this is pretty much a 1-to-1 of his effects in Buddyfight. Not sure what to say. You make 5 attacks with Deemos at being a giant beat stick that you can potentially roll into a crit, has self-sustain and call skill thing. Okay, so he's doing a lot here, but if you guys want like to read his like stuff a little bit more, go on ahead, but we definitely want to make time for others, so let's just go ahead and get into the stuff here. So we've got a lot of cards here. Oh wow. So scanning over these, what's trippy is that there's not a single grade 1 or less. So we're not going to be dealing with rideline cards. We're probably going to be dealing with just like your end game front row kind of stuff. So let's just go. Yeah. It does read like that. Huh. The art's great, but that's Buddyfight. All right, so let's go ahead and just take this one at a time. So Skyseer Dragon Cross Astrologia. Do you want to rate this one? It seems like your kind of unit.
Sure, why not? It is a Keter Sanctuary Brandt Dual Nation card.
Hey, that's our nations, baby.
Yeah, and given it a standalone, that's actually kind of sick because that means it's not just like, oh, you got to build in. I don't know. I like it better than how they did the glitters anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, continuous Vanguard circle. You may move and swap your rearguards to any rearguard circle. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, you know, I can kind of see that given the motif. Like, it means like you can ride a rainbow to another place or something.
You know, it'd be kind of interesting if like if this had like a judgment arm kind of thing. All of them have the ability to boost, but then they have front row utilities, so you swap them out based on what utilities you need. Now that would be different.
Yeah. That would be interesting. Alright, active Vanguard Circle Soul Blast 1. This is not once per turn. Choose one of your units on Rearguard Circle, and this unit and that unit get power plus 5,000 until end of turn. If that unit is on an additional Rearguard Circle, that unit gets power plus 10,000 instead of power plus 5,000. This ability's cost is increased by Soul Blast 1 until end of turn. Okay, I like the future proofing on that one.
Whoa, I've never seen that, like, hardly at all on customs. Yo, that's kind of good. That must be a Buddyfight thing, right?
Yeah, it seems like it. And you know what? I respect the hell out of it. And that's actually a good way to actually implement like a non-once per turn act skill, because more often than not, like, they tend to just be, it's way too abusable. So the fact that you actually increase the cost by increments means that, like, if you don't, like, if you want to keep repeating it, it's a higher cost each time. I appreciate that.
Dude, can you imagine doing that with energy? I could see where you could do that energy, because I just did the math in my head, right? So let's say you're at 10 energy, right? You go pay 1 and then it's additional, so now you pay 2, that's 3. You pay 3, that becomes 6. You pay 4, that becomes the exact 10. You do it 4 times max. Oh, it works, dude. It just works. Okay, I'm feeling inspired by that. All right, what's the final skill?
All right, one last skill. Auto Vanguard Circle. At the end of your turn, put one or more rearguards into your soul and draw a card. You may choose any number of your rearguards and move them to open rearguard circle or exchange their positions. Huh. Wait, so
this requires so much context.
I'm gonna need a lot. For one, I'm gonna for another thing. Does he have a support card? Because I'm not seeing anything that lets you get an additional rearguard circle on this thing, and he also doesn't have an Excel marker, so they're clearly not a V card.
Let me see if there's another card that looks like Helios on a good day here. Maybe that'll be the support card he needs. Which, oh, by the way, the one thing I do want to mention, just even as standalone, putting 1 or more rearguards in Soul may seem like a little weird, because why not just put 1 and then draw? Well, it's because of the increasing Soul Blast cost, I'd imagine, right? So you can actually use that for more power later. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh god, none of these guys actually seem like. Okay, I need the context here. Keter Cross. Let's see. So it's two decks in one, since the ride lines and the rear guards are dual nations. Both decks also mess around a lot with the rears having effects based off of whether they're in the left or right column, or on an additional circle generated by the ride line, which also locks you to cross grade 3s for the rest of the fight. So it gives you a singular Excel. Now, Keter Cross is a 4 attack style Genesis deck, which must be the Excel. So you get 1 Excel from the ride line. That's really it. So we don't need to worry about Keter stuff. You build a bunch of soul with soul charge and dumping rears into soul at end of turn, which nets you draws, and do a bunch of soul blasting to pump your board to make your numbers really big and scary. Whereas Brandt Cross is a multi 5 to 6 attack deck, likes to swap rear guard columns, making it for low numbers. Oh, so like a Valios, a Valios Megiddo kind of like play loop, right? Okay. The deck does have its set orders, but they're mostly just generic advantage stuff, so you can run the research or monster engine as well. Oh, I mean, I like that. I like that it's accepting of generics, because I mean it's like you said before, promo boss kind of stuff. All right, I'm kind of wait. Is this guy is this guy supposed to help him out? Let me see. I'm gonna take Keter Sanctuary.
Don't see.
No, you know what? Let me take this one because he's pure Keter. Because why not? And then because a lot of these are definitely going to go to you. It looks like. When this unit's placed on rear circle, put a card from your bind zone into your soul. I don't know what that means. Put one of your other units, and that unit gets, when this unit's attack or the attack it boosted hits, you may soul charge or energy charge too. Oh, tying that to that kind of condition is kind of interesting. If this unit was placed for your bind zone, this unit... Oh, wait, this is El Quixote. I fought this on stream. This is El Quixote. This is not at all for the guy. If your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3, grade 8, 3 more bind zone, all of your opponent units on grade circle, it's 5,000 power and shield. Okay. Yeah, that El Quixote has a muster from bind zone kind of effect that we'll get to.
I'm going to assume it's the space-looking one on the Governed Star Dragon, it looks like. I'm assuming that's a support.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be it. Go for it.
Yeah. All right. Governed Star Dragon Pal. Okay, yeah, that's definitely part of it.
Dude, look at him. He looks like he's a pendulum magician.
He does. Freaking dragon cosplaying as him. Anyway. All right. When this unit is placed by riding from Seerfight Dragon Sinister, reveal a unit card from your hand and perform all of the effects below according to the nation of the revealed card. Only Keter Sanctuary. You know, I don't think you need to add only. Just. I guess yeah, you should. So if it's only Keter Sanctuary, Soul Charge 2. If it's only Brandt Gate, search your deck for up to 1 divination card, reveal it, and put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. Keter Sanctuary and Brandt Gate, discard the revealed card, then draw 2 cards. That is fascinating.
That is a wow. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This is kind of trailblazing a little bit. Like this feels like some of the most like interesting card design I've seen in a long time, dude. I'm really loving what he has to put out here because he's really like testing the boundaries, right? But like in a positive way.
Yeah. I do appreciate that. Like he's actually taking advantage of the dual nation, of the fact that it is a dual nation card. So that's definitely a big plus. I will say that. I don't know. Something about me wants to say you could just make it so in a way if you reveal a card with both, you get the plus with both, so you don't really need to have the third condition where it's when you have the card with both of them, discard a reveal card and draw 2. Because from what I can tell, the only cards with dual nations are if you run more copies of the ride line or you run Valtrosa, and if you run Persona Ride copies of your main Vanguard. So that's a total of 7 cards you can actually make use of in the main deck, and then maybe more if you really want to include the ride line in your deck just for the plusing. But I wouldn't think it's worth it. So
yeah, it's kind of trippy to me too because with this effect here, not even going to cap. Keter only has the weakest skill. So I feel like, man, but maybe it's in the context, but I'm like, man, if it was me, I would I wouldn't even spring for like the discard draw 2. I would probably spring for Brandt Gate only if I had the chance, because I feel like that is just like the best bang for your buck. Because he mentioned before that those set order cards are supposed to be more resource acquisition kind of cards, so you're probably going to like search more searchers or search plusters or something like that, and that's always like solid as a game plan. So I feel like the Brandt side of things is prevailing a little bit from this specific ride line.
If anything, I would change it so if you have a Keter Sanctuary, you can put 1 card from your hand to soul, then draw 2, and then Brandt Gate just leave it by itself, and then just eliminate if it has both conditions. So this way, if you reveal Persona Ride, then you get the max benefits that way. That's kind of how
that's a good point. Overall, though, man, those cards are cool, interesting. Though. I like that.
That's cool.
So where do you want to go to next? Because we've got a lot to go through here.
This Seerfight Dragon? Is that the next one? Possibly.
Seerfight? Oh, it might be, yeah. He looks, okay, so this is a Keter Sanctuary. It says Vanguard with Cross. Yeah, but he looks kind of like mechanical and badass, so you can take this one.
That sounds good. Alright, Auto Rear Guard Circle. When this unit's power is increased by the act ability of your Vanguard.
Sorry.
Yeah, that thing.
I forgot you had to read using the stream I'm providing there. I'm like, whoops, I forgot how to loan anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, its unit's power is increased by the actability of your Vanguard with Cross in its card. Then choose one of your units on an additional rearguard circle, and that unit gets power plus 5,000 until the end of turn. Yeah, you can choose this unit as well. Okay, fair enough. If it is the second time this ability has activated this turn, Energy Blast 3 and this unit gets critical plus 1. Okay, so basically, if you Soul Blast 3 and Energy Blast 3, then this unit gets a crit. Fair enough.
Nice. Yeah. And you have to choose it first and then it bounces off there. So it's kind of like, it kind of does a little combo thing. So even its low reach is pretty nifty, right? That is a lot of power because it is a lot of power because you can keep choosing him. So that auto's not once per turn, but you know, I think it's still fair.
I think it's fine. Yeah, because it's also such a heavy combo. It's a Soul Blast 3, so.
Yeah, you gotta do that, right?
Yeah, alright, second skill. Auto. When this unit is put from rearguard circle into Soul by the ability of her Vanguard with Cross in its card, and if you Soul Blasted 4 or more cards this turn, you may draw a card. You know, that's fair. That seems fair. Yeah. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, works out well. Yeah, really good card here. Definitely solid for what the deck is going. It feels kind of Buddyfight in that it really like asks you to like puts a lot into your game plan, but then your yield is like really strong as a result, you know? So I think that's pretty good. This guy also says Seerfight Dragon, so I'm pretty sure this is all you too, my dog.
Oh yeah. Alright, this is Seerfight Dragon Sable. Auto rearguard circle. When your Vanguard with Cross in its card name attacks, if this unit is on an additional rearguard circle, cost counterblast 2, stand this unit, and it gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, and there are 3 or more cards in your order zone, this ability's cost is reduced by counterblast 1.
Cinema.
Oh, this is a Brank. Okay, this is a Branket specific card, so it cannot pair with the other Seerfight Dragon.
Right, you got to go one or the other there. Ooh, that's kind of cinema. I also like that it's like this one's conditions is based on orders, whereas the previous one's conditions were based on like soul. Because it's just what it's what he said, right? Keter is doing soul stuff like Genesis, and this one's more aggressive set order crap.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, so auto rearguard circle once per turn. This unit on an additional rearguard circle is chosen by your Vanguard's ability until the start of your next turn. This unit gets shield plus 5,000 and cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects.
Nice. Considering that it has to be on additional rear circle to receive this benefit, you can only receive it once. That means it's limited to one target.
I would say I'd reword that condition until the end of your opponent's next turn, just because.
Yeah, that is true. Right? It's a little janky, the way it is, because it's more or less the same difference, right?
Yeah, I'm curious to know how much the additional rearguard circle is, because that, depending on how much that thing gives, how much power it gives, this card could be either nuts or very balanced and fair, because additional rearguard circle means no boost, so that means it's a 15k, and maybe it's a 20k with the Vanguard's effect. If you keep doing it, then it's 25. So assuming that additional rearguard circle is just 5k, that's 25k max. If it's a 10k rearguard circle, that's 30k, which is basically a Rokogor.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting about that though is we may be having V-Series brain rot and assuming that the additional rear circle even provides power in the first place.
That is also a possibility. So in which case, if it has no power, then honestly, that's just purely fair.
Yeah, that fair is fair, right?
Underpowered, if anything.
Shoot, no kidding. I mean, I wonder what the rest of the ride line would be like, right? Because if the grade 1 also searches you like in a set order, like on place or whatever, you could reach this condition like a little like easier. Although if you do, you still need the opponent to be grade 3 or greater, like get the CB1 anyway. So they probably stopped at that because they want you to play more conservatively. Like, yeah, it just reads like a really good card. I can see where this guy isn't even your best aggressor there, but you know, it all depends. So that's all for Seer Dragons. Overall, I mean, I'd probably give it like a 9 out of 10 or even above that personally. They seem like so fascinating and interesting and strong, but like fair.
It's definitely incomplete because, well, we don't have a grade 1 yet. We don't have a grade 1 ride line card, but
yeah, we need to like double this.
Oh yeah, from what I've seen, I am thoroughly impressed. That was very well thought out, good costs as well, and just very good scaling on everything. So yeah, I'd say all in all, pretty good.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's got a lot of like deck build variety too, right? So it's what we mentioned before, like at the beginning of like all like this review season, right? Which is that if you make cards that has the reader fiending for more, you generally did a good job with it. That's always like a good. Okay, so we already like reviewed it a little bit with Scarlet Flare Knight. So let's go El Quixote next. I'll take the reins on this one because El Quixote is something I actually fought against on stream here, which gives me an idea of who Plastic Ad is. Knight of Endless Voyage, El Quixote. Now, active the Vanguard circle once per turn. Counterblast one and bind a unit card from your hand. Choose up to 2 cards from your bind zone. Call them to separate rear circle, and those unit gets 5,000 power to end of turn. If you call 2 units by this effect, you may energy charge 3. So this deck has a fair bit of energy like cost to it. Just as kind of like a FYI, right? This has a mask to it, so they use the mask gimmick with El Quixote here, which is why this being an axe skill is like fairly important because you could do it prior to masking up. Auto on the Vanguard circle once per turn. When this unit attacks, Soul Blast 1, choose up to 2 of your units that replace this turn, which would be from the axe skill. And those units when this unit attacks with the attack and boosted to Vanguard, draw a card. So he mentioned it over here already, but I remember as well, there's a lot of on-hit effects in El Quixote, right? So it's kind of like battle-based in general, but it's also really good for establishing field because he is like a knight. So they want to do that. Now, I forget the exact utility of them, but this also used the adventure cards. The adventure cards being like these orders that like give you like a lot of like nice benefits, right? So there's somewhat of a spell slinger like on a side here while also like mustering up your units. So they kind of work in tandem each other. You have to like you have to deck build around how many of them are going to be spells, how many of them are going to be units, and it's one of the reasons why masking up feels okay in this deck because your spell slinging on the side anyway. So it's not like the mask is really out of place.
I will also say a nice little touch, mostly because I remember reading Don Quixote in my Spanish class in middle school. A nice little tidbit, like so a way I'm reading like that second auto skill is that like because Don Quixote, from what I remember of that book, Don Quixote was just kind of a crazy old man. Who had a very wild imagination. So I do like the idea that like the fact that the attacks have to hit draw a card is in a way it's just like, okay, he made contact with something, so it's furthering his delusion. So that's the further he goes. No. Therefore, the more he pluses because of it.
Yeah, honestly, my interpretation was that like he's all about conquest. So when he finally conquers something, he gets benefit. But like I like your interpretation better because it really does add to the ramblings of an old man, right? Yeah. Now when that old man like gets actual PCP, he becomes a masked old man, and this is what he looks like now. So it can only be written from a grade 3 with El Quixote in its card name, of course. Now, act on the Vanguard circle once per turn. You remove an El Quixote from the specified zone, so it's the persona remove effect that we know Mass to have. And until end of the turn, this unit gets all the auto abilities of the removed card, and all of your units that replace this turn get plus 5,000 power. So again, more aggression, and it's able to get the auto skill, which the auto skill again is the ability to give those like on hits, but it doesn't have the axe skill notably, so you can't like double dip that because you presumably did it before you masked up. Now at the end of how this unit attacked, the attack did not hit. You counterblast one and bind wave your rear guards to draw, and then you can choose one of your bound units with a different name than the thing that you bound and call to rear circle. So you CB to kind of like swap out multis, but it has to be on a not hit in order to do it, right? Which means one of the things that you can do with this deck has a really clear way to like fight against it if you're willing to play this way, which is that you should take the mask attack and block the rear guards, because the rear guards have an on hit and this has the descendant not hit. So you have the reverse order. So it's not a catch-22, but it does mean that in the late game, this is really dangerous to take. So it could end you if the old man randomly gets lucky and hits you.
Oh yeah. It's just like it's almost exactly like Dragonic Descent, except instead of a Vanguard reset, get a rear guard multi-attack, which is pretty cool. I dig it. It's really good. Yeah,
it's very Keter, right? It's good stuff. And you know, we can review back on like Scarlet Flare again because Frey makes a lot more sense with like this, because when he's placed on the rear, you can like you put a card from the bind into the soul, and then it gets more like they get more on hits. So he kind of like he does that, right? One thing that's interesting about this card, and I think the reason why it's worded the way it is, this sucker is, if you for some reason have like another El Quixote, what you can do is you can call it as a rear guard, bind it, call Frey, and then Frey puts it into the soul so that next turn you can do the persona remove again, without it being stuck on the rear circle. Because that's not one of the zones that you can bind from persona remove skills from mass stuff, right? So that's the main reason why it does that. So I'm like, that's kind of it's kind of clever, right? It's doing a little swappy doppy kind of thing.
Yeah, it's nifty.
It's neat stuff. Okay, so overall, El Quixote did have like a lot of like card advantage, but I honestly had a lot of fun fighting this on stream. I thought this deck was actually like really interesting because it's a skill check. If you understand what the deck is doing, you're gonna have a good time. Let me go ahead and I think I'm getting some Discord notifications. So let me go ahead and mute that real quick because it seems like things are popping up a little bit. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and mute you for about, and we'll mute you for the next hour. Why not? I'm not even gonna need that whole hour here at this rate. Anyway, so, okay. Next up, we got Purgatory Nights here. I mean, I'm pretty sure you would want to. Hold on a second. Yeah, this is Virgo. So remember what he said about this one. This is going to be very Varga-like, but this deck reads almost 1-to-1 with what the Buddyfight version did, and this came before Varga, which means when we're reading this, we should take into account this is probably derivative, like Varga is derivative of this thing. So we're looking at his ancestor here.
You know, I have heard people say that, like, they have said that, like, old Buddyfight players have said, like, a lot of the Vanguard bosses from DBT 07 onwards are very reminiscent of like Buddyfight bosses. I'm starting to see what they mean now, because this is Varga is literally just this guy, but a samurai.
Yeah, which is really sick, dude.
And also a wood dragon, not a flame dragon, I guess, but you know.
Right. All right, so go ahead and read it.
All right, sounds good. All right, Purgatory Knight's leader, Demios Sword Dragon. One hell of a name. It's almost like Supreme Heavenly Emperor Dragon. Why don't you throw that one in there? Anyway, Auto Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets power plus 5 on a turn. At the end of that battle, Soul Blast 1 and retire one of your front or rear guards. Stand this unit and gets drive -2. Okay, yeah, wow, Varga really was based on this card. Yeah, okay. Auto Vanguard Circle. When this unit is attacked by your opponent's Vanguard, counter plus 1 and retire one of your front row rear guards. Draw a card, and this unit gets power plus 5,000 until the end of that battle. That is fascinating.
Yeah, it seems a little weak at first. I wonder if it like combos though.
I wonder. And also, I wonder if there's a card that has protection, because Bafsagara would not give a shit about this.
It says front row. You're right.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, let me get the third skill before we make more discussion. Act Vanguard Circle once per turn. Energy Blast 2. Choose up to one Kagero unit from your hand and one Kagero unit from your drop zone. Call the chosen units to Rearguard Circle, and they each get 5 at end of turn. That is interesting. So basically in trading off the +1, you basically have to call one from hand as well. So this is not completely free. Which is nice.
That's true. Like that. And it's kind of nice because like you still get the 5k to the unit call from hand, which means you got some value from the hand one. It's reminiscent of Alt Mile. Which makes sense since this guy's like also a knight that way. I mean, that's pretty rad. I mean, this definitely is going to be the context of the next couple cards we read, I'd imagine, but I mean, I don't know, man. It seems kind of cool. What do you think?
I mean, I feel like this reads like a Dragon Empire Keter hybrid card, if anything.
Yeah, but like it's interesting because you could tell it definitely took more from the. It takes more from the. How do I put this? It takes more from Keter, but the Shadow Paladin side of Keter, so it makes sense they're called Purgatory Knights. Because if you look at like Virgilla, which is the other like I'm playing Keter and Dragon Empire deck. That one I think takes a little bit more from Dragon Empire to an extent up until a certain point when you start feeling like you're playing Royal Paladin. You even have the same basic attack pattern as King of Knights Alfred, so go up and figure.
Yeah, makes sense.
So this one's more Shadow Paladin-y. That's I like that.
Sick. I do like that defensive skill. I almost feel like it's a little too balanced, just because like I said, with the decks that we have available in the game, Oh, I just don't see that thing going off very often.
Yeah, you know what? I almost wonder if like these shouldn't have been swapped a little bit, right? Where the counterblast is on the restand, but then you only need a soul blast to initiate like this draw 5k, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been a little fair because you're doing a lot for that auto skill.
Yeah, because not only that, the defense skill is only when it's attacked by your opponent's Vanguard, so you can't do this on a rear guard effect. So like,
yeah. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's true, dude. Holy crap, that is somewhat limited. Maybe how much do you want to bet that like this Rampaging Knight we'll get to last is like so clutch on that? He probably does something like, this unit cannot be retired except by the ability of your Vanguard with Purgatory Knights in its card name, and when it's retired, choose one of your units and gets 10,000 power until like end of whatever.
I imagine like he has like a mandatory retire at the end of the opponent's turn, but he's protected until then.
Yeah, right. He's like, use me or lose me, bitches. It's very reminiscent. All right, so here's Deemos Sword Inferno, Blockade Inferno Extreme.
It's equal parts such a generic name and equal parts such a freaking badass name at the same time.
Look at him, dude. This guy like went into he won at life, and then he went to Purgatory and he won at Purgatory.
Realize is that angle of the head the exact same as Rakshasa?
No, not. It's similar, but it's like he's looking at us, whereas Rasetsu is looking over to the side. So it's like it's similar, but their focus is different.
Ah, okay. All right. Anyway, auto one. This unit is placed by riding from Purgatory Knight's leader Demios Sword Dragon. Counter +1, activate Persona Ride, fair enough. And this unit gets auto Vanguard Circle. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, cost retire one of your front row rear guards. That's it. And this unit gets power +5k until the end of turn. Until at the end of that battle, stand this unit, and it gets drive -1 until end of turn.
Okay. And then you re-ride, so you do have access to the defensive skill as well. But this guy is just basically a stronger version in a way. So he CBs and retires to get like the power and stands with the drive, right? So he still gets to do the drive. But you know what though? The one depressing thing about that is that now this especially makes me want to swap those costs a little. Because I'm like, now you got a CB too? Oh, oh man. Yeah. Oh, what if Rampaging Knight also says, when this unit is retired by the ability that you should be using here, you get to counter charge one. Imagine. We are pitting all of our hopes on Rampaging Knight. He is going to be a more pivotal grade 2 than freaking Erzabur. Oh man. Okay,
I'll give him credit for at least making it so like that guy he only has one skill and everything is depending on whether you ride the first guy. So this way it's you have to run this in the main deck instead of running him in the ride deck like you would with the kings.
Yeah, and I also like that you have the CB to even get the Persona Ride going, so it's like everything is locked behind this play action having that, which means that if you're ever fighting against it is also like Varga in that it could be CB tonight to like not do his things, which I guess is, you know, maybe that's why this Soul Blast, because if you are CB tonight, you can still do this attack pattern.
Play the game.
Yeah, maybe, you know what? Maybe this guy's more genius than we thought.
Actually, can you check that first? Can you check that one again? Real quick?
Like this skill?
Yeah. I'm mostly thinking maybe make that maybe make the defensive skill an energy blast to make the active counter blast.
The active counter blast? I mean, I guess you could, right? If you wanted to. It feels like because it deals all 3 costs, so it's like I guess that's just how you do it.
The main shit for like, because keeping in mind like with the idea of like, okay, so if this is to help future-proof it for like counter CB denial, which is fair. I feel like the plussing from the rear guards is not really the deck's main draw. The main draw here is the fact that like, well, I guess it kind of is because he has to constantly retire stuff, but like, he can't hand out it. So I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, one thing about this is that it's a Kagura, which means that it has access to key Kagura cards in standard, like Bellicosity Dragon. Bellicosity Dragon is so good because it gets you that card like into Soul, some extra draws and power and stuff like that. So that makes this like even more like sustainable. And you know, if there's anything that requires, hey, if your Vanguard stood by its card ability, well, this actually triggers that as well. So it's like it kind of makes sense that this is a Kagura high key. That's not bad.
Never mind. That card's actually as good as it gets. I don't think there's anything I can change about that.
That card is really, really good. Hey, it's a Keter. Wait, this is an El Quijote card. What the hell? Oh, frick. I thought for sure. Oh my god. Okay. Wow. The Dragonite for hire.
It does kind of fit the El Quixote sort of play
Wait,
style.
hold on a second. I'm dumb. I fought against this too. This is the guy that gets the crit, I think. He had like some sort of like saying when there's a scaling to it though. At the end of this unit attack that did not hit. Right, this had a not hit as well. CB1, choose with 2 cards for your drop zone and bind them. Then, if El Quixote is your Vanguard, specifically the original El Quixote, and there are 4 or more cards in your bind zone, stand this unit. If there are 6 or more, it gets 5k and a critical. And then if there are 4 more cards in your bind zone, it gets 10,000 power and shield at all times. So the point behind Fold Break is that Fold Break makes your it says Vanguard Adventures because they have like adventure cards like their orders, so that's where it comes in. But I just realized that. But the point behind Fold Break is that it gives you a legitimate reason to not do the mask if you don't want to, because this is a multi-attack. It's a little janky and it's a little expensive, but it is a multi-attack that you don't get with the original like El Quixote. So I'm glad this doesn't interact with the El Quixote mask. Any thoughts on this?
So he does still help mask, but it just means he's not getting the crit restand alongside the freaking the Maskus unit. So you're not getting 5 attacks off.
Yeah, he's good though. He's definitely a good card. Again, this deck definitely like thrives on dancing with your opponent for a bit, right? So you do the game with them and you see what they're willing to give you. So it's pretty cool. What was your favorite of the 3?
Oh god, they were all really good, so it's really hard to say.
Yeah, honestly, like this feels like cumulative like 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
like, these are so insane.
I'd say 9 out of 10. And the only reason why it's not getting a 10 out of 10 or anything higher, it's just because they're just incomplete. Because like for the freaking cross dragons, they I need to see the grade 1 before I decide definitively whether it goes up to a 9 or
that goes for all we have no grade 1 or lowers in these 10. These are all the gangbusters, right?
Yep. So
holy crap.
Well, as of now, I'm giving the Cross Dragons an 8. I'm giving the Purgatory Knights a 9, and I'm giving El Quixote also a 9. And like I said, the only reason why Cross Dragons is at an 8 right now is because I have no idea what that grade 1 is, and that grade 1 will decide if it goes down to up to a 9 or down to a 6.
Oh, fair. I feel like my favorites here probably goes to Purgatory Knights. I think they were really clever about it. Like it's not very often that I read a card and I feel like the card like kind of like the more I read them I'm like, oh okay, like no further arguments with you, sir. You're good to go. Because it really like speaks for itself the way he designed this. So I'm like, shoot, dude, all right, I can't say no to it. I would be really intrigued if it did like come out with like a support card that also does EB2. So it's one of those like increments of 2 or then increments of 3 kind of like EB decks, right? Because that's
while his superior call effect is limited to Kagero units, you can still run generic stuff like Shura. So if you do, you can run Shura and still get superior call hard. Because if I remember correctly, wait, does Shura have the? Can you superior call it back if you don't have a Varga Vanguard? I don't. Oh, okay. Well, I know Obdurcy Glaive can't be retired, so I know that.
Let's find that out. So let's go Shura.
Yeah, I think Shura actually requires a Varga Vanguard for that.
Yeah, you need a Varga Vanguard for the restand. You can actually, interestingly enough, get her Energy Blast skill though, so that's a bit for an EB too. So
yeah, so that works.
I don't know. Maybe there's something there. You might be cooking. I mean, I know for a fact Obduracy Glaive works, right? So like Obduracy will always just be, Senor Big Bitch. That's nice for him. I mean, yeah, that's all you got to do. I know there's got to be something that will refund you a drive, dude. And I can't wait for this to get a Sequana because that is such fair game for this kind of Keter-like deck anyway. I'm like, yeah, do it. Just do it, dog. It's going to be great. Yeah, these were great. These are definitely going on the fridge.
Yeah. I was about to say, Vaestru can get an in-archetype Bulba Mine. Freaking Purgatory can get an in-archetype Sequana.
Right. All right, we got Clover next. Now these are the 31C, so I think I actually fought. Yeah, I think I've actually fought these as well at some point. Oh wow, this is Google Doc. Let's see, which of the waifus for these ones? Whoa, hold up a second. There's a lot of them. I'm gonna have to limit here. So they said the AVIT that forgot her password read is set it. Janky database, custom nation. Please only read main gimmick, 31C rideline and support, and the last card in generics and docs. Since the amount of cards in custom nation will be way too many cards. The main reason you say something to get a crest is due to how the game's lore say how to sum your weapon.
Everything at least.
Okay, so basically read the ride line and support and the last card in generics and doc. Okay, last card in generics and doc is probably that. So we'll try we'll try to, like, I guess, keep track of that, right? Okay, so main gimmick, Overdrive. All arts for the squads are on Untap, right? So this Overdrive, I remember this a lot. As a matter, and I'm gonna say, Noir, not gonna lie, this deck did not do very much when I fought against like multiple versions of it, because they were all like based around this crest token, this crest order thing. They weren't getting overdrives very easily, so. Let's read this. Continuous. You have overdrive. I think it would say you can have overdrive. You cannot gain meter or use crest auto skills in this crest. You have 2 or more of the same name on rear circles, so you need to have different names. You may have up to 15 meter. When your unit attacks hits, that's the key, is hits, gain 1 meter. When your Vanguard attacks, you may spend all of your meter to perform one of the following. 5 or more meter. Choose your units gets 5,000 power and countercharge 1. 10 or more meter. Your front row gets power plus 5,000, choosing your front row rear guards and stand it. And 15 or more, your front row gets 10,000 power and stand all of your front row rear guards. So just a clear, like, escalation of the 10 or more. So if you're not getting very far in life, you can get the 5. Otherwise, you can try to greed for the higher ones.
I don't know how you ever get to 15, because it's just like, by the time you get there, it's just like, because I don't know how many restanders this deck's gonna get, but I don't know if you remember from your own game, but just like, even with restanders, it's like your opponent's not gonna let you hit all of them. And like, is spending them all mandatory? Because if it's mandatory, then that means, you know, you're never getting to 15. You can't even install it like with energy costs or anything.
Right, because you have to eat them all. Now, there are cards that get you meter as, like, other units, but they were somewhat sparse, so they weren't, like, doing too much with it. So this could actually be an underpowered deck, realistically speaking. One thing about this deck as well to, like, bear in mind is that this is the entire nation. So I saw multiple different, like, strategies, right? I saw one that was a field muster. I saw one that was like a sort of Grand Blue revival kind of deck. There's a few of them. So we got the ride line and support. So when you stand up, say my legend begins here, you get an overdrive crest. So okay. Then it says, and they're doing the V revival style where you don't put in the text box here, you just put in the full art and then you put the text under it. So that's kind of clever. Yeah, I think we really started something with that, because when we started doing that, people were like, "Holy crap, that's so sublime."
Oh yeah, it's very convenient.
For real, dude. Auto on the Vanguard circle. When these units based on VC, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Search for an 31A, reveal it at your circle deck. So it just adds one in the hand off top 5. So definitely very powerful ride line skill there. And then this is placed on Vanguard circle. Look at the top 7 cards of your deck. Choose 2 of them, reveal them, add one to the hand, and discard the rest. So more powerful muster add kind of things, right? Because these do generally need to get your board set up. So it sort of plays like collab where it's almost always going to be like board sensitive.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's how that goes. Now this is Daybreak Impassioned Soul Ruka Kayamori. When it's placed in the Vanguard circle, the top 5 cards of your deck, choose an A31, call to a circle, and shuffle the deck. So this is the muster one. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, costs counterblast 1, it gets 5,000 power for every 2 of your A31 units. So a maximum is going to get 15k if you get the full board like you want. Then if you have 4 or more at least, and the opponent's Vanguard is great through a greater, it gets a critical. And that's it. It musters cards and gets power and critical. So it just goes in for a basic good attack. Then this is Megami Aikawa. Now, auto on the wrist circle, once per turn, when this unit attacks, it gets 5,000, and then at the end of the turn, until end of turn, it gets the power. Then you can energy blast to draw a card, and that's its only skill. Good enough. Then you've got Coyote, which is when it would attack the opponent's Vanguard, costs Counterblast 1. This one's kind of a gangbuster. Counterblast 1 in this unit battles all of your opponent's front row units. You cannot stand this unit during your next stand phase. That's a really interesting condition. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that's because I deliberately, like, because I had I think I was playing, if I recall correctly, I was playing Base Rook against this one, so I deliberately left it alone and attacked the other front row with Bolts in here, because I was like, yay, that's against 10 anyway. If your opponent's Vanguard goes straight through your gate, it gets 10,000 to end of turn, so kind of an interesting card.
Huh. That's nice. And I like the balance on that one, it's cool.
Yeah, you know what? You know what's also great? A lot of these are just like single effect cards. So like the idea is you get them all in tandem. They do a bunch of effects, but you know it's pretty cumulative. When it boosts an A31, Soul Blast 1. Oh damn, she cute. Choose one of your units and it gets 5,000 power. If you boost an A31A with Rook, choose one of your opponent's rear guards to retire. Yep. Soul Blast for basic power and retire. This one's definitely a good card. They were able to snipe a couple things.
I do appreciate that all of these card effects read like how they would go with like the characters. Like retire, yeah, she got a giant bazooka. Of course, she's gonna retire. And then the one that like,
and also like a Packer artillery girl, which is why she's a booster.
Yeah, and then on top, and then like if you scroll back up to the girl with that rest, so she has like it looks like she's about to swing at sights, so that makes sense that she actually attack the front row. So you know, I'm liking the flavor behind these effects out for the most part because I was admittedly when I first saw when I saw the grade 3, I'm just like. That's a little boring, not gonna lie. It's not very. It's kind of basic. And then wasn't really a fan of the grade 3 personally. But you know what? These 2 support cards have been pretty good. I like those.
Yeah, and I think the only thing this deck is missing is better ways to get meter. Because if you could get more meter and reach these bit, then yeah, you can definitely blow up on the opponent, right? It's a balance, of course, but like. If you got more meter, it'd be like, oh dear. Like, what if you got like a meter for every 2 of your like 31As when you did this skill, right?
Yeah.
Then that would add in a nice X factor with it.
Every time you call a 31A unit and it has a different card name from if it doesn't share a card name on a unit with on a rear guard circle, then just get a meter.
I could see that too. You know what would like what's cool though? Another thing that I like about Kyrie is that this actually gets you meter more because all those hits would get you a meter.
Right? Yeah, that's nifty. That's a nifty addition to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, this like that one is like probably the most perfect creation from Ava. She really cooked with that one. We've got Tama Kunimi. This is if you're a Vanguard, it's grade 3 or greater. Soul Blast 1, choose a grade 3 or less. Different name from this and call it to rear circle. So this one is definitely meant to be just generic for the entire nation, right? So it's just a basic revival card. And then when it boosts a 31A energy charge 1, very inoffensive Cosmore effect.
Yeah, that's inoffensive. That's fine.
Yeah, why not, right?
Which cards are we supposed to read, by the way? Just to make sure, because just so we don't carry away reading the entire document.
Well, okay, because there's 31B and 31Cs, so these are all 31As, I think is what we're supposed to do. When this unit boosts a 31A, gain 1 meter. See, now this one is one of the ones that gains a meter at least, right? So that's a meter getter. Eileen. Oh, yeah, I guess it is kind of like that, right? Basic on boost, get the simplest good stuff imaginable. Now, I think they wanted us to go to the bottom of the generics here, which is, I think, this one. Back from the brink. Oh yeah, this one. So they played this on me with the second deck that they played. Counterblast 1. Choose your vanguards, and until end of turn it gets when this unit's attack does not hit, draw a card. This one. This one is definitely like pretty damn solid for but it's also like just a conditional draw and nothing else. So I'm surprised it doesn't give like power, or you know what it could have also done? I could have seen where this does, if it does hit, gain 2 meter. So the idea is that you get 3 meter instead of the normal 1 for a CB. Exactly. And then because you can always countercharge it back if you want to go that way. It's like, oh. So I spoke a lot. Digesting all of it, what do you think about this, Noir?
I think it has potential. There is definitely a lot of potential on these cards. I think the main issue and why it might feel a little lackluster is mostly just based on the fact that I think Ava still needs to figure out how exactly the meter should work, because like even the payoff for 15, can you scroll back up to it real quick just so I can take a look at it?
Mm-hmm.
Because like even with the final payoff, your front row you get put plus 10k and stand all your front row rear guards. Like that's frankly kind of standard for standard, you know. So I'm just like even the 15 or more isn't such a super crazy effect. Like it's like sure, like you could try to restand the front row attacker again, but it's just like more often than not, if the opponent knows you're gonna get the restand off, they're just gonna let all 3 attacks hit anyway. So it's like. And if, in the case that like, and if they're gonna guard, then like, you know, that's to your advantage. But like, if you're using banking on her to get to your 15 meter, then it's like just unfortunate because because again, you have to build that back up again.
Yep. And then like,
it says you may spend all of your meter. Okay, it says you may spend all of your meter. Okay, So you don't have to use it every time Vanguard attacks, but if you do use it, you burn everything at once. So
right, which means that like they're not even like transitive backwards, so you don't like get to do the counter charge thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you know what I could have seen with this is like if it could do it all. So like if you waited to get to the 15 or more, you could have had these cascading benefits. So like this one said stand like let's say this one said stand like stand 2 of your rear guards, and this one gained 10,000 of front row. This one was stand a front row, it gets 5k, and then this one just did the same, right? So in other words, you would eventually if you got all the way up to the max, you would get a cumulative like what 40 power or whatever with like a triple restand when there's a back row, but that's like the 15 or more meter. That is the wow, like this is my turn kind of thing, and then afterwards you're just like you're spent, dude. You got nothing left in the tank.
Yep, basically.
Yeah, it is a little weird that this one is a countercharge one. I think the idea was that if you just want to go like low reach and just always have like this resource effect active, you could. So I kind of get it. I just kind of wish it wasn't spend all meter because because it really forces you, you know, like that is the one issue. If it was optional, then you actually have a real resource system, right? I think the reason why they did spend all meter is because this thing is literally called Overdrive, so it's got to have some sort of like epic like anime break past your limits kind of thing, I guess.
Which I respect. I do like that. I do like that idea at least.
It's true. It's true. I could see where there's some cards that pays like kind of hefty costs or can like have to have hefty conditions to get you more meters. So that even is more so like if you got to go fast, you're going to be in shambles afterwards, but you can go fast.
Yeah. Honestly, maybe it's because it's this is more of a lore thing. So I want to say from a game balance standpoint. So I'm going to suggest this based off purely like from a game balance standpoint. I feel like a better way to implement getting the 1 meter off would be when your unit's attack does not hit, you gain 1. Because from my understanding from how these cards are designed, Overdrive is basically meant to it's your final burst system. It's basically your OT, your guaranteed OT effect in a way in Vanguard sense. So I feel like if your attack doesn't hit, that should be being you accumulating, learning, your character learning from the failure, stacking that up to build up that willpower to go on the full burst, as opposed to each hit building up to it, which is basically like you whittle them down and then you do the big burst, rather that every time you fail, you build up to that big boom and then you get the big boom afterwards.
Yeah.
Because this way also the opponent has... This way, while the opponent still keeps like their say and like whether or not you get to do your effect, this way it's not as punishing. If like this way, it's a bit more interaction because like, if your opponent wants more CB but they want to deny you your meter, then they have to decide: do they want to go to 5 or do they to deny the meter, or do they really not want to give you the meter so they have to guard anyway?
So the most painful thing.
Makes interaction a bit more, as opposed to like there is no reason for them to not guard you unless it's like, you know, they're literally out of CB. In which case, if you're playing for the freaking Judgment Dress deck earlier, then in most cases they have no problems just guarding everything. In which case you just kind of die because you don't you're not gonna hit.
Yeah, the most painful thing is if you're at 14 meter, but the opponent's at 5, so you know what they're gonna not let you do.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude. Like the only way to like counter pain them is to bring out like my goat, Kyrie here or Carrie, and be like, all right, but will you defend all 3 of your front row?
Yeah, exactly. Like actually, I feel like given her craziness, that actually fits very well. Just like if you want to defend them, deny her what she wants, then it's like that's still boosting your game plan. But if you let her just go through with it, then you know it denies their game plan a little bit, but you still lose it. That's a more intricate interaction between your 2 decks and the 2 players.
It's so devious, which is what the art here is, I guess. But it's pretty cool. So yeah, overall, what would you rate it? You think?
I'd give it. I want to say give it an 8. Like it's not there yet, but I think if like with a couple once you figure out how to get the overdrive mechanic to work better, or at very least like figure out all the text on the crest, I would say I'd say you have a pretty solid idea for a nation right here, because I do like the idea for this overdrive mechanic. It just needs a little more fleshing out. It just needs a little more time to cook, and then once you get it, you got it. It'll be like 9 out of 10. once you get it.
It's also interesting because like we know this is like a person who plays a lot of collabs, right? So I think they definitely had a little edge when they were making something like this because they know a little bit more about how to differentiate between a nation generic and a nation like non-generic, like an archetypal like collab nation thing. Like this is a nation generic, the street sweeper, right? Anything can play the street sweeper. But then by comparison, you over here to Yuki, where her retire is an archetype because she has to boost a 31A specifically. And that makes sense because that means then that like if there are probably other decks that have like a little bit more control functions or probably are built around not being able to interfere with the opponent's board, so you don't give them that. Versus the street sweeper where it's very cumbersome, but it's always there. So I'm like, yeah. It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. I think my rear guards are probably like my favorite. Like the rear guards are probably my favorite part of this. I'm just like, yeah, you know, they really just have simple, nice skills. They're not overbloated at all. It's really clear what they're supposed to do.
They also feel very appropriate to what their card art's depicting. Like, my main criticism is mostly just with the main Vanguard, because this is kind of more or less how I judge like whether or not it's a good Vanguard or not. Is could I see this on another card, and would it be just as fitting? And frankly, when I look at aside from like specifying the 31A units, everything about this card, this could go in any generic nation. Like it could go in any nation, and it would fit perfectly fine.
You know what would go so hard about this card though is if there was an effect, right, like a booster for her, and it ate all your meter. But it was worded in a way to where you couldn't have used meter from like your overdrive effect. So you basically use it for that card instead. And what it lets you do is it lets you Raging Form Bruka. So what that means is you not only get to do this attack again, but you also get to do the Call 5 as another like somewhat RNG reliant like multi attack. Like that could be kind of cool, dog. I wouldn't mind that. Now of course RFD main suggesting RFD, but that's just me.
I mean it does seem like it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, right? Like you call it like Ruka Kayamori, like Final Fight or something like that. I don't know, some sort of like extra. Now this is already a 5-word name, so I don't know how much more you want to do for it, but like, get out of 6, I bet. It's Vanguard. I mean, we've had so many Supreme Heavenly Emperor dragons or Conquering Supreme dragons and stuff like that, so we don't... We're used to that, so maybe you could do that. I don't know, but yeah, I would agree. I'd say an 8 is like perfect for this, right? Like it does need more fleshing out. It does have like some flaws, particularly with the overdrive gimmick. Like this is really the one thing, but like, God, like Ava has done certain things right that not a lot of people get right, which is what's really refreshing about this.
Agreed. I mean, she's also making a whole brand new nation, which is.
That's hard. She's got something. I mean, she's qualified for the job, relatively speaking, because that again, this is her focus as a player. She likes to play a lot of collab decks, right? So she knows what to do for it somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the potential is there. Like basically, what my main criticism just boiled down to make the Vanguard itself and make the rideline in general just like have a little more flavor. Because when I read the skills of all your rear guards, I can tell exactly like what kind of character these girls are. Like it matches the art.
We're the Vanguards. We're running in front of the battlefield and doing the battling.
Yeah, as opposed to the Vanguard, I'm just like, this could go on any card. Like I could put this on Rizal and I would have believed it.
Oh my God! I guess. Yeah, it is pretty. It does fall flat, relatively speaking. I don't know why I thought of the Dark Dictator, right? But like, just kind of something like very like basic setup and like payoff kind of thing. I think one thing about this deck is.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention, you first.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Is that it all because I said it does like a few things, right? And I already mentioned the rear guards, but what I also mean is with this overdrive, you get like a lot of like these effects going on here. So I think this also is where Ava's like, okay, so I know I'm gonna have a lot of effects from this token set order anyway, so let me chill out on what the units on the field can do, because I know I've got like 3 different scaling effects like in my order zone already popping off here, right? Now I think the overdrive gimmick is a little too restrictive to really like give that to this deck, but if it was made a little less restrictive and a little bit more like player friendly, I think that's a really legitimate design philosophy. It's like because dude, there's nothing more like it's kind of a noobish mistake, realistically speaking. I've seen so many people where their Vanguards do 4 or 5 effects, and I'm like, look, let's say you have 5 cards in an archetype.
Like this effect can be on a rear guard. This effect could also be on a rear guard. This effect just doesn't need to belong at all. It's just like
let's say you have 5 cards in an archetype, and the amount of effects that these cards should have cumulatively between these 5 cards is like 10 on average, right? If you put 5 effects on one card and then the others, like, well, guards only have 2, right? Then you're gonna end up with 13 effects, son. This is well above the average. So, like,
all the generics you can put in there because you can say it's a 5-card archetype.
Yeah, in addition to all that, so you get like your overall amount of effects that you have in deck, which is a really weird way of looking at it, right? People don't think this way because we're usually just playing cards and accepting what they are in a vacuum rather than the big like some cosmological awareness type of crap, right? But like, and I only figured this out after like doing this for years, dude. Like after like years, I was like, wait a minute. Why not just count the amount of effects a thing has overall and then suss out what should go where, you know? Like, so like this is a really good tutorial on what and where, you know? Like it's good that way. But your criticisms definitely have credence, especially that this this feels like. The more I think about it more, this feels like a trial deck boss.
It does.
Yeah,
which for beginners is a very welcome addition, but like I said, I guess like maybe I'm also being spoiled because like we're coming off the heels of the last creator who just like
this versus Deemos Sword Dragon, which is
I'm just like maybe I'm a little bit spoiled from this. Admittedly, I'll admit I was probably a little spoiled from that one, but I'm just like compared to. Having come off of that, I'm just like, this feels all very tame in comparison. I'm just like, I don't know.
Oh, man. But yeah, you know what? Okay, I think we talked about it enough, right? 8 out of 10 seems about right. 8 out of 10 seems good. I'm pretty sure that's it for today, right? Because I don't think we're gonna be able to get to these Fenrir cards with the time we have left. So we'll go ahead and leave. Yeah, we'll leave Fenrir for next time. Whether it's just to be alone or the homie Noir can be back for another performance, we'll leave that for the future. So for now, Street Explosion, you'll be next. We had some really nice reviews though. Definitely the Buddyfights definitely I think reflect the most kindly, and also Ava's was like a really nice like go at it, right? So I honestly the Judgment Arms that we began with was probably the relative low light, although it's relative. They weren't like that bad.
They were okay in my opinion. Like I said, the concept is there. The general designs like for like how the deck functions is fairly solid. The problem is that like it needs more costs, it needs more flavor in general, and because otherwise I feel like it'd be a bit of a boring deck to play.
It needs the hot sauce, dude.
Yeah, it needs a little more. God, you know I love spicy foods. I know that's targeted.
Oh yeah, well, I actually do too, right? Like generally speaking, like what I was eating here was shepherd's pie, but I threw in Valentina's into it so that I could like actually taste it well. Yeah, although what I think the hot sauce that I love the most is Cholula, and I also like sriracha a lot because those are actually like flavorful hot sauces, right? Because that's another theme that can be done from this. Yeah, you can add in heat, but heat for no reason just doesn't make sense in card design.
Yeah.
So that's this allegory kind of fits here. So yeah, put in meaningful spice into decks, and that's how you get the flavor down. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this review. Glad to be back on this again. Hopefully we'll get the next one out like after upload, maybe another like few days after that. So we're trying to be somewhat consistent with it, right? But not really a set release schedule with these. So you just stay tuned for when the next one comes out. If you're like fiending for more Vanguard content in the meantime, then definitely check out what my channel has on offer. We do a lot of different kind of Vanguard videos, whether that be discussions, top 10s, more custom card reviews like these, anime reactions, hiatus on this week by the time of upload, but next week we're gonna get back into it with the deluxe finals. So very exciting stuff there with the anime if you want to go and catch up on the anime reactions. And fight nights as well if you like to see fight videos. We do that pretty frequently with like new releases for Vanguard cards, right? Like for instance with Youthberg versus Virina/Nirvana. That was a really good one. Anyway, with all that said, take care and God bless.
Peace.